This is God Stories Radio Podcast. God Stories Radio Podcast. With Fritz, Mike, and Tina.
Hi there. We here at God Stories Radio are reaching out to you and your business to sponsor us for as little as $10 a month. We need you so that we can continue bringing hope, comfort, and encouragement through the power of the Christian testimony. By your business blessing us monthly, we are able to bless others weekly. To sponsor us, email godstoriesradio@gmail.com. And you don't have to be a business to be a blessing. Visit godstoriesradio.com to donate securely through PayPal. Just press the button.
You're listening to the God Stories Radio Podcast with Mike, Fritz, Trish, and Tina. Listen to us live on the Mixlr app. Also, be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio and you will never miss an episode.
Everyone to God Stories Radio. This is session 180. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Tina.
180.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow. What
an
amazing couple of days it's been.
I'm still on clouds.
Yeah, exactly. We're walking on cloud 9 here.
Wow.
What an amazing time we had with Barbara Beck and everybody over at TV 45.
She just, she was so warm, so kind, and just amazing to us, and just such an incredible host.
Absolutely. I don't know how she does it.
I really don't either.
I don't either.
She was so gracious, and we just thank her so much for the opportunity and just for partnering with us, to get the word of God Stories Radio out there.
I know, just to offer to come side by side with us and do whatever needs to be done for the kingdom.
Yeah.
You can't say no to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if
it's exciting.
We weren't blessed enough by Barbara Beck, we walk out into the hallway and we're met by Mr. Steve Steiger, who is the
President and
CEO of TV 45. And the brother just talked with us like we've known him for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Really exciting and
just amazing.
He's got a genuine heart. Yep.
And I can't wait. I hope that he comes with his wife. And
he's got the invite.
Comes and tells his story. I can't wait.
Just a special thanks to everybody that was at TV 45 the day that of our taping. We just appreciate every one of you. Dorca and who did our makeup, and also the young lady who is helping us take photos, and the camera and sound guys. They were just amazing. They were just there to take care of us.
Faces.
Yep. And I'm sorry, and the camera lady too.
There was a camera lady, yes.
I didn't catch everybody's name.
She was so kind. She took a bunch of photos with our personal phones as well.
Yes. So,
but what amazes me, I didn't see any cue cards or anything for Barbara. She just kept on.
Oh, she's so natural, and
she is.
She just set us up for success, with the questions that she asked. And
I don't think it could have gone any better.
I was like a little kid at the first day at Disney World. I really was. It was just
amazing.
What an experience! Yeah. I haven't had a Cloud 9 experience like that in many years.
A long time. Thank you, Father, for giving us that opportunity.
Amen.
Indeed.
Amen to that.
Amen.
All right, we got some shout-outs?
We do. Facebook likes. the first one we have Yves Van Valet.
Van Valet.
Van Valet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for liking us on Facebook.
Thank you so much.
Then we have Simeon Evans.
Simeon Evans, a friend of mine. Simeon, thank you very much.
Oh,
yes, he
nice.
is.
All right.
Old friend.
Thank you for liking us. Anna Harding.
Anna Harding.
Thank
That
you.
is Mitch and Angel's mom.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you
Yeah.
for liking us. The next one is Dee Sutton.
Dee Sutton.
She's going to be our guest next week.
Ha ha. Thank
That's
you, Dee.
awesome.
Thank you, Dee.
That's right. She sat in with us.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady.
I have a feeling it's going to be a powerful one.
Yes.
And then the last one for tonight is Laura Stefke.
Laura Stefke.
Speaking of Laura Stefke.
Speaking of Laura Stefke, go ahead, Fritz.
Let me see.
She was kind enough to write in.
Yes, she was, and we got a nice little note from her today. It says, thanks so much for writing us. Oh, that's not her. That was our response to her. Here we go. This is Laura, and I've been listening to you often in the morning. I'm from Minnesota. I'm very thankful for your broadcasts. I would love to share with God Stories my personal testimony of how God had helped me overcome my tremendous, traumatic past and chronic health issues to find His grace and love. I want to share this so that others out there who are hiding and hurting can find hope and meaning through their journey on the pathway to recovery through the Holy Spirit.
Well, Laura, we just so appreciate your heart and willingness to help others, and we would love and be honored to have you share your story on God Stories Radio.
Absolutely.
You bet we would.
Yep. Just go ahead and drop me an email at that email address that I gave you, and it was godstoriesradio@gmail.com.
All right, well, we had another one. And this one is from Monica Johnson. Hi, everyone. I absolutely love you all. I highly recommended this to anyone who needs encouragement. I have been listening to you all for 3 to 4 months now, and it's been a life-changing event for me. How I found God Stories Radio was just browsing through my Spotify. There's Spotify. And I was in the mood to hear something good. Then suddenly this podcast appeared. Just hearing about God makes my day a whole lot better. God is so good. Please continue to air your broadcast because my heart, mind, body, and soul love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. That encourages us.
You better believe it does.
I tell you, it's comments like that that help keep us going and keep us encouraged. So thank you to all the
Absolutely.
listeners out there.
How did we make it through the first 2.5 years with nothing?
Just faith. Just knowing God was in control.
That's for sure.
There was people out there listening. We just didn't know.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Spotify, countries that listen to us on Spotify, France.
France, thank you.
Thank you, France. People in France for listening to us on Spotify. And then we have Finland.
Finland. Wow.
Yes.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? And then we have Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Wonderful.
That is just fantastic.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's
I also want to
exciting.
welcome everybody on Mixlr tonight. We've got quite a few folks on Mixlr tonight, and I guarantee you dialed into a good one, so welcome. If you follow us on Mixlr, I can see who you are, but we've got a bunch of folks on tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. Appreciate you taking time out of your night when you could be, cooking dinner, chasing kids, mowing the lawn.
I have a surprise.
Uh-oh. Mikey's got a surprise. I don't have a drum roll or anything.
No. Nation number 93.
Oh, 93.
Yes.
How
Wait a
did you
minute.
get nation number 93?
And it was on Libsyn, wasn't on
Was not on Spotify.
No.
Oh, wow.
I hope I say it right. Tajikistan.
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 Wow.
Wow.
That's exciting.
I don't know where that is, but welcome.
Well, it sounds like it may be somewhere near India and Pakistan.
India
Yeah.
and Pakistan,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're up to 93 that we know of.
That's just fantastic. God is awesome.
That is amazing.
He is absolutely awesome.
He did that on purpose.
Yes, he did. Just like he put us on TV.
Yeah.
Faces for radio.
Races for radio.
That'll learn us. So anyway, I'm going to bounce it over there to you, babe.
Okay.
Introduce our guests. I'm major excited.
I'm pumped up too. I'm really excited. So you guys might remember that we had a couple of guests on a few sessions back, Tommy and Mo Midlow. And Mo gave just kind of a rundown of her new book. And she's actually the one who helped connect us with our current guests for tonight. So, we're really excited to have them. They are an uncle and a niece. Singing duo, and they actually started in New York and lived in New York and have moved down to Florida and been here for a number of years. And recently there was a national event a nationwide event to connect the community with law enforcement, and it was held in downtown Claremont. It was called National Night Out, and they actually sang the national anthem for that.
How about that?
It was really exciting. Yeah.
Man, what an honor.
It is. Wow.
And then when I was at work today, one of my coworkers approached me and said, "Hey, I know the person who's going to be on your show tonight." And then another person piped up, and she knew you as well. So it was really exciting. We were just having a fun time just talking about, how we're all connected to you. So without any further ado, I want to welcome Adam Narvaez and his niece, Caitlin Sahad.
Thank you for having
Welcome,
us.
guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Thank you,
show.
thank you.
Awesome to be here.
We're so glad you could make
Yes.
it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank
Yes,
you, Mo and
yes.
Tommy.
Yes, it was
Thank you so
Tom.
much.
They are awesome.
We love
Yes,
you.
they are. Love them, Mo. Tommy.
They're amazing. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about where you guys come from, where you grew up, stuff like that.
Gotta go first?
Sure. I was born and raised in New York, born in Brooklyn, New York, and then I moved over to Staten Island, New York, and I lived there until 2015. So I've actually only been in Florida for about 3 years. We had family friends that moved here, and we're super close with them, and we came to visit them, and my family actually just fell in love with this area. It's unlike any Florida that we've ever known, actually, So my family moved here. My now husband moved here as well and decided to live in Orlando until we got married. And now we live here as well and just got our first home, so that's exciting.
Oh, that's
All right.
awesome.
Yes. But we've been here since 2015, so we love it here. Love it so much.
That's great.
Yeah, I've been in Florida a lot longer. I moved to Florida when I was about a year old. So I was born in New York, but I think I am a Southerner by lifestyle.
Yes, you
Yeah.
are.
Which definitely makes me, my family cracks jokes on me all the time. They hear my accent all the time. But so we've been, I've grown up in the Panhandle, in the Florida Panhandle, and so been there for, majority of my life, and then just recently moved to Central Florida about 2 years ago, and we are loving it, probably for the same reasons Caitlin and her family just fell in love with the hills and the scenery, and then being so close to Disney, and just seemed like a really, really good place to raise a family. So.
Mm-hmm. And so you've had an interesting career too, haven't you, Adam?
Yeah, so I've been in law enforcement. I was a deputy sheriff for a few years. I actually still have my certification with the state, but yeah, really, really neat time, eye opening. I did that back when my wife and I were first married, and it was actually when our firstborn came into the world that I reconsidered and thought about getting out.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and haven't regretted it since. I'm thankful for God's protection and provision through that time, and definitely awesome. Something I'll never ever forget. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, both of you are going to have very different testimonies as far as how God worked in your life.
Yeah.
But can one of you just kind of get started with,
They may be similar. I grew up in a Christian home, and same thing with Caitlin. I thank God for my mom and my dad and my grandmother. My grandmother's actually in town today. She's in Claremont. She lives in West Palm Beach. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So hopefully she's listening. But I grew up in church. I actually grew up going to the Brownsville Revival. My brother, John, actually graduated in the first class of Bible school there and through the School of Ministry. And so he fell in love with the church, and then we shortly after that started going as well. And so I grew up in the revival there, and like I said, thankfully I've been raised in a Christian home pretty much my whole life. So I would say when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old is when I made a real conscious decision to follow Christ and not look back. And it's been hands down the best decision I've ever made. So, yeah. What about you?
It's kind of the same, always raised in church. So, no, like, crazy story,
Right, yeah.
But it's been more of me just growing up in the church and having to develop my own relationship with Christ, because being raised in a home where everyone already does, you know all the basics, but
that's a journey in itself. You know, just finding who you are.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been, luckily I've always been in a youth ministry or in some type of ministry that's helped me find my way. So I'm really grateful for that. But
fantastic.
Right.
So, can you guys talk about what God has done in your life? Because obviously, when you're raised by Christian parents and you've pretty much grown up around the faith all the time, and you haven't lived this wild and crazy life where, you were like a prodigal son, there's a lot of people who don't have that type of experience, but they have a very different, beautiful experience of how God constantly shows up in their life. Can you guys talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're right. It is, I don't think you need to go through some type of tragic experience. I don't think you need to, just have some crazy life-altering moment to know that God is real and that He's, shown up in your life, and that He's either spared you for a reason or allowed you to go through something for a reason. So,
well, you said a mouthful there, brother.
Yeah.
Wow. Let that soak in.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people, it's like, and it's kind of funny to think, man, I've never had anything tragic happen in my life where, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, some people feel like they don't have a story to tell, but there's a story just inside of that.
Yeah, we hear that quite a bit. Yeah. That's why I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to kind of actually ask him, because my experiences with all the younger people that God brought me into my life these past 12 years, that there was a point in their life, especially when they were young, they strayed for a little while. Wow. And I was going to ask you, you never strayed?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'll be honest with you, it was probably midway into my law enforcement career where, probably new career, newly married, trying to figure some stuff out, and that's probably been one of the lowest points in my life, where it was just difficult. And again, to know that God was always there and that He never left me. And so that's a kind of unique situation, right? Because a lot of people go through life and they haven't met the Lord yet, so they don't know that God is for them. They don't know that God is there and He's just a call away, and that He's so close. I knew it, yet I was still going through what I was going through, regardless of the decisions I made and different things like that. So, thankful for that. But that was probably one of the lowest points in my life. I can't.
Understandable.
I don't know what maybe directly contributed to it.
Right.
But different things like that. But I thank God for, like I said, what He's brought me through. Regardless of what I had gone through, I'm so thankful for my wife, who's always been a constant for me, and that's been great. And so she's always been there, and I definitely appreciate her for that. I know that God definitely knew what He was doing when He linked us up together. So that was it for me. I don't know. What about you?
I think my hardest part was high school, which I think happens with everybody. You know, there are certain things that you just know are not okay to do, and everyone else, you know what I mean, like does it. But I think the biggest thing for me was always like I never felt completely alone, which is something I think happens to teenagers a lot. Like I work a lot with the youth, and it's a constant reminder to them, like when they feel completely empty, like they have nobody, you know. Right. And I think I'm lucky to have had leaders in my life and family members in my life that were able to remind me of that. Because even during like difficult times where, you know, typical teenager things, you know, I never felt like I had nobody. even if there was no one physically in front of me.
Right.
You know, so I think that's something that I'm so grateful to have known Christ at such a young age, because I always had that constant reminder. And, you know, I married someone who was a leader in the youth when I was leader in the youth, you know, so
Okay.
I'm really blessed to have had that, you know, to be married to my husband who is always there to, like, we're each other's, like, I don't know what the
It
right
should
word is.
be.
Yeah, and it's been that way since we dated, you know. And I was young. I started dating him at 18.
Okay.
So to have someone there that was on the same page as you, who was able to like help you keep going. But I think that's one of the things. I always feel lucky because, especially knowing people my age who didn't know Christ the way I knew Christ, it's like I can tell that there's something missing, you know. So it was always a reminder, like, you know, how grateful I was to have been raised in the church, how grateful I was to have a family that was able to raise me to know Christ as young as I was. You know, I always felt like I had that upper hand in my life. You know what I mean? I always had that advantage of always having someone who was there to talk to.
So, Caitlin, were you surrounded by maybe some people or friends that you kind of had to help be kind of a beacon for them?
I think kind of, in a way. Like, a lot of my friends I grew up in youth with. Like, my best friends are from my church, you know, one from my high school. And we're always there for each other in that way. But I think it came into play a lot, like everything that I was raised with and everything that I know, when we started taking on youth ministry. Like, that was when I really had to take everything that I've learned, take everything that I've experienced, and really help the youth. I teach music right now at a school. I teach K-12. So I'm in charge of the youth worship team for the chapel, for the school. And I'm able to take the experiences that I've dealt with and really help them. I think God really had me go through certain things the way that I did so that I could be that influence, so I could be that example. I have a little sister who's...
That's what he does with all of us.
Yeah. It really came in handy. My sister's 16. So I'm able to help her and help her friends and help the youth and help so many people at this age that I know exactly why. Like, I feel like God's showing me why all these things happened for a time such as this, you know?
You bet.
God's definitely given you a gifting then with youth.
Right.
I really do believe that. I think God really gave me a heart for kids and teens.
I admonish you. I'll tell you, it does take a special heart.
It does.
For the kids, a special patience and a special heart.
Yeah.
You know, you got to see the good in them. You got to see past who they are.
It's true. It's true.
I have to laugh because I know exactly who he's talking about.
Well, it wasn't really, but now that you brought that up.
That's hilarious.
Extra grace required.
Amen. That's right. And appreciated.
So, you know, we were touching on before just, you know, some of the ways that God has vividly just shown up in your life. You were about to kind of go into some of that.
Yeah, so I think it's more or less probably what he spared me from in that time, you know, where it was, you know, kind of shaky for me. Yeah, you know, and I don't know what that is because obviously I didn't go further down that path, but I just know that it was only God that kept me from continuing. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And yeah, just kind of weird. I'll tell you another crazy experience. My father is no longer with us. He passed away several years ago. And he always had a few stints kind of in and out of the hospital, and man, every time was serious, you know. And I just always prayed. I said, God, not now. Like, you know, this is not the right time. I don't know. That's probably just me being selfish, you know.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't until his final hospital visit, which is when he ultimately passed away, that I had such a peace. And I said, you know, God, if this is you know, the time, like I never had felt a release ever before, you know? And, in fact, it was wild. He had gone into a coma, and, he had remained that way for a while. And that's when I was, employed by the sheriff's office. So, you know what, I'm going to go back to work. Call me if something changes and, you know, let me know. I mean, that's how much peace I had, you know, that I was okay.
I think that's a good representation of, what he refers to as the peace that passeth all understanding. Because people look at you and they go, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, how are you
Why
here?
aren't you
How are you
upset?
functioning?
How are you dealing?
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you coping?
Yeah. And it was just amazing. I felt like, from my interpretation, that not that his journey was done, but maybe that his job was complete with me, that he had been a great father, and that he had, showed me how to do things, and life was good. I got nothing but great experiences, with my dad. And it wasn't until, like I said, that last, stint that I just kind of felt at peace, I remember that one. I'll never forget. Just not really the encounter, but the overwhelming feeling of peace. I mean, it was like I was talking to Jesus in the room, like he hugged me. Like, that's the most tangible moment of peace I've ever probably experienced, in my life, and just in that, in that quick moment.
I believe that we can feel Jesus in a very tangible way.
Yeah.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah. I was actually listening to another session driving home, and he talks about, in that session, I think it's 94, he talks about how he felt Jesus put his hand on his shoulder and tell him it's going to be okay.
Wow.
And I know myself personally, I've felt moments like that in my life, and it was typically when I was at my lowest, and I just, I was just crying out to the Lord, and he was there to comfort and console me in a way that nobody else can.
Yeah.
And I do believe, we always think of him as intangible, but he is very tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. Ironically, I mean, I think that's kind of when I feel the closest, is when we are doing worship. For us specifically, I think in other people, they may feel God in different ways, or more often so than not, depending on, what they're doing and what they're into. But music has always been an avenue for me to really connect and to feel God's love, or to get some type of emotion or feeling that is consistent with the situation that I'm going through, so
Right. I can have a big amen to that.
Yeah.
I've played drums all my life, and when I'm in worship playing the drums, there's no other experience like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
When
man.
you just shut your eyes and he takes control.
Yep.
Amazing experience.
And that's, I mean, ironically, that's, again, really weird too. Caitlin and I say all the time, like, man, we don't desire to be on stage in front of lights, in front of cameras. We tell everybody, you can drop a curtain right in front of us, and we are perfectly fine with that,
That's fine.
And that's ironically how this whole gig got started. We, both of us have been just so, entwined, and just have such a love for music, that I think when we got around each other, it was kind of like unrivaled with maybe a lot of people that we knew.
Right.
And so, we connected more than just like uncle and niece and family, and, we're pretty close in age. And so we always would, go off and play some music and do some worship. And over all the years, it's kind of,
we didn't even know each other for very long, like know each other like that.
Yeah.
I think I saw you once when I was
because she was she just lived so far away,
Yeah.
And so whenever they would come together, it's kind of funny. The whole family would say, "Oh, where's Adam and Caitlin?" They know we'd be off worshiping like some room of the house.
If you listened in, you could find us.
Something.
That's really cool that you guys have that bond, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like music just brought you guys together.
Yeah, absolutely. I know another thing for me was always, gosh, I want to start crying. My dad's love for my sister and her children, again, I felt like he always, they'll never know, they'll never know, I think, as much as I know, just because I was there. But, man, there were just times where he was far away, and he would just long to be with him, say, hey, let's go get in the car, and we'd drive 24 hours to New York, track everybody down, and, hey, we're here,
That's awesome.
And, now that he's gone, I just thank God for him in that way. I thank God for my sister in that way too. I felt like she's really gone the extra mile to, regardless of the distance, kind of always keep that closeness and stuff like that. So it's been awesome. And that has hands down, paved the way for Caitlin and I's relationship.
Yeah.
It could have been easy for either one of them to say, life happens, and not make it a priority. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty cool. Family's everything, and we've got a pretty amazing one. So
Wow.
Yeah, definitely blessed.
What about, on the job when you were, doing the deputy sheriff thing?
Yeah.
I mean, there must have been situations you were put in.
Yeah, there were, especially in the beginning, everything is cool and everything's new and everything's, you come home and you tell your wife a bunch of stories and she looks at you like you're crazy and like, I'm not letting you go to work tomorrow, But, a few years in, you find yourself coming home with less stories and it's just like, it just becomes more mundane and it's another burglary, another home invasion, another death, another, and she even mentioned that to me at one point. She said, Adam, you don't tell me any, she's like, you don't tell me any more stories, or she'd hear me and my cop buddies talking about a call we worked and she's like, I never heard of this craziness, and so yeah, I just didn't tell you, but definitely there were just some awesome times where I definitely felt the Lord's protection. I remember going to a call and it was just like a disorderly conduct, and we show up to this apartment complex and there's a couple there and they've been drinking and they're just super loud. And it was kind of a weird relationship because they were together, but the guy had another apartment in the same complex. He just was at her place. So it's kind of weird.
Same but different.
Yeah. And so we go out and we're like, hey, you guys have got to keep it down. They were super belligerent. They cuss us out. We ended up leaving. Not a big deal. We were just hoping they would be quiet, So finally, we got a second call, and my lieutenant was not a fan of us having to go back to an address twice.
Right.
He wanted us to take care of business the first time, and we're not going to continue this process. So I remember this was weird. We kind of parked further away. We were walking up, and these 4 units share a common corridor. Mm-hmm. So we walk through the front door, and we're trying to be super quiet, and we pick up his conversation on the phone with the dispatcher asking where we're at. And our radios were turned down, so the dispatcher asks us, says, hey, what's your 20? Where are you at? The guy's calling. And, so we whispered, in a very low voice, we're here. And then I hear her say to him inside the apartment, hey, what did she say? Where are they at? About 2 seconds later, the dispatcher lets him know that we're here. He comes out with his massive butcher knife, and he was ready to do something crazy. And it was just weird. Like once we opened the front door, like we didn't go any closer. Like it was just weird. Typically, we would have just probably gone and knocked. And again, just another routine call, and honestly being complacent, which gets a lot of law enforcement in trouble. So he comes out with this huge knife, and we draw our weapons, and we're trying to give him commands, and people in the complex are freaking out. Again, the corridor is shared by all the other doors. Yeah. So there's other people that came out to see what was going on. They saw us. They went right back and slammed the door. And they're like hiding on the floor. It was crazy. I mean, we were engaged there for probably 30, 40 seconds, which doesn't seem like a long time. But when you're pointing a gun at somebody and it seems like an eternity. That was the first time ever. I mean, I've been in tons of situations, tons of foot chases, tons of calls, just tons of, exciting stuff. But this was one that really stuck out to me where I'm thinking, dang, I'm going to have to shoot this guy, So sure enough, he finally listens to our commands. He drops the knife. His girlfriend was right behind him. She had another one. She had another knife. I said, wow. Man, we left that call, and I said, man, I don't know, nothing but God's goodness. I mean, for some reason, we handled the first one exactly how we would have the second one, except for we didn't. It was different. We kind of slowed down. We slowed our response. It was a little bit more methodical. I don't know what it was. God definitely was with us.
Right.
And so that's one situation I'll never forget. And
what goes through your head when you have to actually contemplate shooting somebody?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I tell you what, there's more so than not, there are a lot of good women in law enforcement, and I know I've worked beside a ton of them, and I tell you what, that was the last thing that I ever wanted to do. I really wanted to go in our community. We really wanted to make a difference. Again, there's times when it's fun and it's a blast, and we're chasing somebody because of his terrible decisions, and it is what it is. But it still doesn't mean you can't conduct yourself with integrity and character and do the right thing, And but yeah, it was pretty wild. I mean, I felt sadness. I'm like, man, this is about to go down. Like I'm gonna go home to my family.
Right.
I'm gonna do what I have to do.
Right.
And so it was. I don't know. You get a bunch of emotion. I don't know. You get a bunch of emotion. Yeah, I would say that one of them, ironically, was probably never fear. And again, I can just imagine and contribute that was just God himself, you know? I don't know how some of these people can go in kind of day in, day out and face what they do and not have that. And I don't necessarily think so much it's not having the feeling of fear, but it's overcoming it with the willingness to do good and the willingness to protect your community and the willingness to do the right thing. And you know what I mean? It kind of overrides it. So it's not that fear is absent. I just think there's so much goodness and wanting to stand up for what's right that it kind of overcomes that, and it allows us to go in there and kind of do our job. So yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, pretty wild.
So Caitlin, how about for you? Like, what are some areas where you feel like God has really just made himself so present in your life?
I mean, there's been a lot of things. I think one of the things I struggle with the most is more like internally. Like I recently in my life, I think getting older, I've put so many things on my plate that I can't handle it. Like, that's been a thing of mine. Like, my husband always tells me, you need to learn how to say the word no.
No.
And I learn and then I forget. So it's always been with me. Like, God's always protected me from like serious things, like physical things, like in the actual like physical realm of actually attacking me, like sickness or just financial or just things like that. But it's always been stuff where I like to help people, so it'll be an internal thing where I'm like, things are crashing on me right now. And when you said the whole thing about how Jesus is like, he is tangible, I was thinking, I'm like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where I had to drop everything, and I feel like I can actually feel myself being held. That's been a big thing for me. Like I've when I'm able to finally just surrender everything, it's almost like I can feel him like around me, like holding me. And I think that's when everything kind of like melts away. And it's not like a big, I wasn't a cop, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But that's always been a thing for me. I've always been protected physically. It's just that I've always had the heart especially growing up in the church where, this ministry needs help. Sure. Yeah, sure.
Give.
Yeah. And it just comes to the point where it's like, okay, well, did I eat today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did I eat anything? How many hours of sleep have I got this week?
Yeah.
And that's where he really comes in the most, I think, is it's an anxiety thing for me.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes I finally get to the point where I'm like, I can't take it. And I can actually feel him. And it's been like family loss before, or some things just aren't going right. Or even like, I'm 23. So, the adulting thing just started, and house hunting and moving and taking on another job when we moved here. And marriage. Yeah. Luckily, thank God I have a God-fearing husband who's able to, and he's actually a mental health counselor. So sometimes he's like, I learned, I have a breathing technique. Let's try it. Yeah. But it was more of just learning how to stack everything on top of each other and being able to get through college, stuff like that, adding everything on. It's always been a thing. And I think it was 2016 or the end of 2015 when I had just moved here. I had gotten a job at a doctor's office. And I was also doing online college because I needed to do online when I moved to keep credits and to keep going. And I don't even think it was something huge. I think it was, I went to work and I was supposed to send something through the mail. It was around Christmas time, get a gift to somebody and make sure I did this. And I needed to get something done at work. And I was typing, and I was a receptionist, and I was typing and my hands started giving out on me. And I'm like, this is weird. Like I couldn't type a name. Like my hands would just stop. And I stood up and I almost fell down. And I was like looking and things were getting all dizzy, and that's never happened to me before. And I'm like, what's going on? Like my doctor's even like, we'll get an EKG. We'll see how your rate's doing, or let's check your temperature, everything, And I had I was getting so scared. I'm like, when your body shuts down, like I had an aunt that had a stroke, like half of her body shut down. What's going on? I don't have any health issues. And finally they were like, well, we did this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, well, she wants you to go in that back room. My boss, who was the doctor. And I go in there and she's like, you're having an anxiety attack. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. She's like, it's an anxiety attack. I'm like, are you sure? I've never had that before. She goes, what? We need to talk. What's going on? Like,
right.
And it wasn't even like I was doing crazy things. It was just, I was stacking too many lifestyle things on.
Yeah.
And that started happening more. Right. That was the first time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like, my husband was helping out with the youth and I was helping out with the worship, and he's like, she can't come in today. Like, he finally was like, you have to say no. Like, you have to stay home. He's like, you're like spinning. Like, I could see it in your head. And that, meanwhile, as a teenager, I could have sworn I did way more. But, you know, more adult, like more teenager things sometimes don't add up to less adult things because they require so much more.
Yes.
And that was really where it started happening, where I had to start letting things go. But I feel like God was leading me as to, like, all right, well, what should I stop doing? Like, what do I need to stop doing?
He absolutely was trying to get your attention.
Yeah. And I've learned as a teenager, I didn't think I could hear him. That was my biggest thing, because I went to church and I read the Bible and I did these things, but I didn't feel like, you know, someone's always like, oh, and God told me. And I'm like, he doesn't tell me nothing. Like, I don't know what's going on. And some people would hear him, or some people would dream something, or someone would come and tell them, God told me to tell you, you know, and that didn't happen for me until I started realizing it just, for me, I think he kind of just makes things happen. Like all of a sudden, you know, the school needed a volunteer only on Fridays, and I got out early on Fridays from my job. And it was like, oh, the performing arts teacher can't work Fridays. Can you help with these elective classes? I was like, sure. And I went, and I absolutely loved it. And they were like, oh, you know, they can be a bit rowdy. I loved them, and they loved me. You know, I have that. So many of my students, I'm like, I see them somewhere, and most teachers kind of avoid them in the store, but I'm like, hi, you know, and I get really excited to see them, all ages. And then it just so happened, like, hey, she's going to move on to this ministry. Do you want to be the music teacher? I'm like, yes. And, you know, I don't want to work in a doctor's office. That's not my calling, you know? So it's just how, once that happened, once that lifted, and then they had a job for my husband at the time when we were getting married. He was coming to Claremont. It's like, oh, we need someone to help with teach a psychology class, teach a life skills class. And he came on. It was just God kind of, I'm like, okay, well, you want me to drop this? And I just learned that my thing is I need to stop doing everything and be really sensitive to what he's saying, to what he's telling us to do.
Because it does say in the Bible somewhere that you can say no.
Yeah.
Yes. And you should say no, especially when you're taking on too much.
Yeah. I think that's more of it. Like, I've always thought so much. I'm a thinker. Everything happens in my head. And I think it's easy to say, hey, we can't do this. Okay, we can't do that. But it's when too many thoughts come in, I think that's where God kind of shows himself for me, where I can't take it anymore. And he kind of just picks me back up. You know, I can actually feel it physically, like being hugged, being held, being wrapped, you know, in him, and worship as well. That's when, what he said, you know, being up there and being able to sing and worship really just takes me to a different level, takes me to a different place.
Can you speak just for a second to the panic attacks and the anxiety attacks? I know there's tons of people out there listening right now that probably suffer from that. And I know my daughter has it bad. I mean, she will call me sometimes and say, Dad, and you can hear the breathing. I mean, I've actually had to take her to the hospital for it before it. So if you could, you know, I know obviously the Lord was involved, but what did you do to, you know, overcome that and to deal with that when it was really bad?
Well, they luckily they kind of calmed down recently, you know, but when that first happened, she had really just said, she's like, what's going on? My doctor, she was like, talk to me, just let it all out. And once I was able to talk about everything I was dealing with, that already felt like a weight had been lifted, you know? And then the whole, like, my husband had taught me this. He's like, you know, breathe, take a deep breath in, hold it for a couple seconds, let it out, let yourself calm down, and then think about what you need to do to assess the situation. And for me, that's not something that I realized I dealt with until, like I said, not too long ago. But one of my best friends as well, like, she suffered with it. She suffers with anxiety. She suffered with depression. And she's actually a big advocate for it on social media. And I learned, once I started dealing with it, I learned a lot from her, you know, on how to cope. And she uses, a lot of times it's social media as a coping mechanism. A lot of times it's sharing what you're dealing with, I think, really helps you realize that there are people around you that want to help you. There are people around you that care about you, and they want to, what can I do to help? That was one of the biggest things. When I said what's going on, she's like, what can I do to help you? And knowing that there's someone that was going to help you carry that load really kind of like lessens the anxiety, lessens for me, you know? that was one of the biggest things. Having a husband who, I think once he figured out what happened, like, I think he was able to leave work. He's like, I'll deliver this for you. I'll take it to the post office. You know, like and you just forget to ask for help sometimes. You know, you think, all right, well, I have to do this, and this. Meanwhile, there's someone there like, I'm free. I'll do it with you. You know, that's one of the biggest things too. You know, asking for help, asking, hey, can you help me out with this? Hey, I need to do this. Do you think you can help me get there, or take this here for me? You never know, you know?
People that haven't ever experienced anxiety or a panic attack per se, they don't know. They're clueless. They don't know what you're going through, and they don't really know how to help. You know, that's why sometimes you have to physically cry out and say, I need some help. You know, so that's a good point. Very good point.
I think there's so many young people today too, Caitlin, that you know, the stress level is just unbelievable. You know, like you said, they're trying to adult. You know, they're trying to balance school with a job. It's a lot to take in. You know, and you know, usually you have other things going on too, like, you know, you're a wife and trying to balance a household and things like that too. So it's overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah. It is, and again, that kind of ties back into what I had said before about these things that I'm going through. I think God puts them like in front of me so that I can learn how to deal with them so that I can help someone else.
Yeah.
You know, that's always, at this point, because it's happened so many times, sometimes I'm actually able to level like for a second and just say, who is this going to help me help in the future?
Wow.
You know?
Hey, man, I think that's what our story's all about. Well said,
Absolutely.
Caitlin. Well said. Man, I'm ready to hear a tune.
I am too.
I'm reeling over here, you know.
Now we're going to get a chance to experience how God works through you guys in music.
Amen.
I love that.
This is awesome. I've been enjoying the talking. We don't get too, I think, too many opportunities to just kind of not do music.
I know, right?
To share other
I just
things.
feel like we could talk all night, no problem.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we've got a song for you guys, and we'll get started.
When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble, and the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. Oh, we worship
Wow.
Beautiful. So incredibly
Oh,
beautiful.
man.
Boy, did our listeners just get a treat.
Oh,
they
man.
did.
Just like we
I
did.
tell you, I'm in tears right now. I just can't. Wow, man. That was amazing.
You guys are amazing for sure.
It was amazing, man. That was really fun to just sit back and mix and listen to. And I'm just like, oh, man, I had to throw my hands up. I couldn't help it.
I saw you praising.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So
So that was your own? You wrote that?
No. That's that was a song written by, who wrote that?
Brian and Katie.
Okay, Brian and Katie Torwald. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. They're awesome. We love them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we love their music.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
What does music mean to you guys?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever asked myself that question.
I mean, it's God is everything, but music
Yes.
is something that He's placed in my heart since I was young. My mom sings, so she was in the choir since I was a baby. They put me in there to sing for the first time at 3, so it's always been something. When I work, I need it. When I need to concentrate, I need it. I think when I'm cleaning and I'm not in the mood, I need it. Sometimes I'm like, I tell my husband, I'm like, all right, I'll be back, and I'll be cleaning or I'll be cooking, but there's music blasting and I'm singing along and it's gotten me through so much. That other than feeling God, that's something that He's always used as a connection between Him and I.
I've always felt like music is one of those things that it can transfer you from one place to another.
Oh, yeah.
It's very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It can elevate you to a different plane altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I would imagine music for you is almost like an extension of your body. It's just something you have to do.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It
wasn't.
shows.
I don't think it was really till we, we'd go into a room and we'd just start worshiping and just be us by ourselves, and then we found out like our family said, hey, that sounds pretty good. We like it.
Yeah.
Come out here, we'll worship with you. And
Yeah.
then, one night, like somebody recorded it and it went on social media and they're like, hey, that's pretty good. Do it again. And so, I don't know, it's been that way for like a majority, probably the year. And we said, man, if people like it so much and we know what we feel and love and experience during when we're playing, if somebody could get half of that, then yeah, we would, try to do something and, you know what I mean? Try to make something happen.
I know what you mean. You brought it up in here. I tell you what, I couldn't contain myself. Oh man, it just ushered in the presence into this room.
It did.
It's thick in here.
Yeah. So Adam, when did music become a part of your life?
Oh my goodness. I think I got my first instrument. It was kind of embarrassing. I think it was, I want to say it was red, but I really think it was like more pink. I think I got like a pink drum. I think my parents bought me a pink drum set. When I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. Maybe even a little bit younger.
Don't feel bad, bro. I had a pink drum set.
That's hilarious.
Remember the Archies?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Archies.
I didn't pay for it, so I just,
well, there you go. It was a
Gifts and
freebie.
gifts.
yeah,
There
teach
you
me
go.
humility. But I think I started playing drums, and then I took some piano lessons, and then finally guitar, and was actually kind of self-taught and never taken any lessons or anything. My brother actually had an old guitar that he never played, and so we'd go to his house constantly, and I said, man, I want to pick this thing up, and that's how I actually learned, and then I begged my parents to get me one, and they finally did, and so for a little while now.
You're such a paradox, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like people would look at you and, they paint a picture of you, and you're nothing like the picture that they would really
Nothing.
paint. Yeah. I
That is
love
funny.
that. I love that.
That's
It's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Can you bless us with another song?
Yeah, what do you want to do?
All I know is Mixler is lit up tonight, man.
That's awesome.
I want to welcome Alexander, Ali, Den, COF. Den, I'm just going to call you Den. Welcome. Janelle's on. And we got
Awesome.
5 other folks on right now. And you tiled into a good one. Welcome.
We're going to lower the key on this one just a little bit. Man, for the past couple of days, we just haven't been feeling 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
We
Yeah,
had
I guess.
cold, and now there's the lingering cough after the cold.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
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 Fun times.
Yeah.
Every time I laugh, it's like my lung wants to come out.
I hope I can do my part this low.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, and let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, you're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire you're good. You're never gonna let me down. 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 Oh, you are good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. Oh. You're never gonna let me down. Out of the situation. You're never gonna let me down. You're always right there.
Wow.
Woo!
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
Now we know what Mo was talking about.
Yeah, no kidding. My phone is just blowing
My
up
phone
over
is
here.
blowing up, and the chat board is blowing up over here. I just got a text from Janelle Grimm that says, I feel like I'm on a mini vacation.
Yeah.
I got a text from Angie Moore.
Yep.
This is very healing for me. Adam and Caitlin have blessed us all tonight.
Yep. And I guess Angie also hears you guys at Unforsaken Women, too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So very
That song
cool.
was actually partially from Metal.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah, 'cause it's so funny. You know, we've got, I don't know, a list of songs that we sing, and when it comes time to do them, like, we can never think of anything that we like. So we always think of, like, you know, what did so and so like?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
The song really is amazing.
Yeah, it is really good.
It's
So
beautiful.
And she did a great
Oh,
job.
my
doing
goodness.
it. Oh, my
Yes.
God.
Both of you guys.
Yeah, really.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing together.
Awesome. We appreciate it.
And God is really, you
Gosh,
can
those
tell.
worship moments are so tender, man.
Really?
I could sit there for a while.
Yeah.
No
So,
doubt about it.
Just let the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, so again, my name is Adam Narvaez. I'm 29 years old, and this is my niece, Caitlin. And we are A&K Music. Yeah, I don't know, not very
We're on
original. But
Facebook.
yeah.
We didn't want to come up with something cheesy, so we
We felt like that was the best thing God had for us, you know?
yeah.
God Stories Radio is the king of the shameless plug, so just
Yeah,
plug away.
absolutely. Yeah, we are on Facebook at A&K Music. You guys can find our page. It's got, I think, a picture of us on the profile page. We just recently changed it.
Yes.
And we do try to go live every Monday around 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
And and just do we're always so torn, you know, because we just love the people that come in and worship with us, so we like to acknowledge them. But at the same time, man, we could literally close our eyes, stay in the same key, and just probably hit 15 songs and just worship, you know. So obviously we don't want it to drag on forever, but we definitely try to do 2 or 3 songs and definitely enter in, you know, and just, you know, keep it kind of light and fun. And
Try to keep it like a good space, like, you know, not just for people to be ministered through the worship, but we always ask, like, is there a prayer request that anybody,
right.
is there anything that we can pray for? You know, maybe it's private, maybe they want to send us a private message. That's perfectly fine.
That was probably what I was watching when I was on Mo's Facebook page earlier today, trying to find something on you guys.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. It was Monday night. I remember
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, we've got some other events that we've done. We recently went down to West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
There was a conference down there called Revive, and we were asked to go down there and lead worship, and so that was awesome. So that was a video that was on there. But, yeah, you know, it's, I don't know. Like I said, if we can bring people half of what we feel when we're singing and worshiping and just kind of lost in that, you know.
The best.
Well, I
thing.
can attest to that because I
Really?
know how I was feeling.
Right. Well, not only that, the comments that we got in while they were going.
They're flooding
yeah.
in. Alexander Ray said, "I just love that song."
Yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome.
their comments are just in.
What were you gonna say?
It's awesome.
No, that's the best thing to ever hear is that we were able to minister to someone, and
Right.
whether they're at a low point or whether they just want to worship along and praise.
That's exactly
you know,
what somebody just said.
Yeah.
Minister to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the
Yeah,
most
every
important
Monday at
thing.
8:00. Like I said, you guys feel free to join in. We try to be pretty punctual, and we probably don't go
Yeah.
any longer than
an
20,
hour.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and yeah, we're serious. You know, like I said, for us, this isn't really about performing. If you guys have something on your heart or on your mind, or you guys need prayer, like we seriously,
Yeah,
we look at
absolutely.
those and definitely add them to our daily list of stuff that we try to go to the Lord
Is
with.
this Facebook Live that you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay,
Facebook Live, but it's
Facebook
on the
Live.
A&K music page. You could also probably search our names and then
Okay, so if we go to your page, then we can listen live.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
So
similar to how
Monday
we
nights
do
at
it.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. Monday nights at 8, and yeah, you know, as long as people are still interested and still showing up and people are viewing it, you know, I think we'll continue to do it. We'd do it even if y'all didn't show up and do it. We just probably wouldn't go live.
Yeah.
But just as you're trying to, what's that word? I want to, feed your
Yeah,
to worship the Father.
yeah,
All right, you're doing it where others, as we just heard, is being ministered to at the same time.
yeah.
All right, so you're blessing other people, but He'll bless you.
Yeah,
Trust
absolutely.
me. Well,
That's our biggest thing, you know, when people ask kind of why we do this. I think the first time I ever came up with it was when I was talking with Dana, and she just, casually talking and, what's the purpose? What's the mission? It's like, man, if we can just connect people to God through music,
Yeah.
that's it's kind of our heart's desire and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, again,
Have you guys recorded anything? Do you have an album or a demo?
no,
or?
we don't right now. We are, I don't know, probably in the process of, I know I have definitely been.
fairly new.
Yeah, I've definitely been in the process of, writing some stuff and different things like that, trying to put it together to some music. I've recorded some stuff in the past with other churches and different things like that, and written 1 or 2 songs, but nothing serious as of late. But that is my prayer, that God would give me something that would be
He will.
Amen to that.
impactful.
He
I
will.
know.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
will.
Yeah,
That's the
that'd be
question going through everybody's mind right now. Where do I get their music?
awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's tons of. I feel like there's tons. There's several
Live
episodes, if
covers
you will.
and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But
So that's pretty awesome. And then obviously we want to start doing. I don't know. We may start doing some local events soon. One thing we kind of had an idea of, like in the fall, was doing like worship in the park, or may go by like downtown waterfront.
Right.
Well, I
and
love that idea.
yeah, and just worship for 45 minutes, an hour, and just kind of hang out and be
Whoever's there
family.
is
You know.
there.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
So
And plus, you're an unforsaken woman every month.
yeah.
Yes.
It's,
Last Tuesday of every month, is it?
I
Yes, it's
think
the last
so.
Tuesday of every
Yeah,
month.
last
Yeah.
Tuesday of every month, and we are just so excited to be there.
worship
Our-
with Dana.
Yeah, our
and
dear
the
friend
team,
Dana
Mikey
Broadway is
and-
the worship coordinator
Mhm.
there, and we love her so much, and
Yes.
we really it was a commitment to Dana, to help her and empower her to fulfill her position, if you will, with this
Right.
ministry and stuff,
Right.
and then we met.
turned into so much more.
Yeah, we
So
met
much
Mo
more.
and Angel and all them, and now we couldn't imagine ourselves anywhere else. They're just
Patty.
some of the great,
Tommy
Patty,
and-
yeah, just some of the greatest people, and so we love it. We're excited. We look forward to it. So
Wow.
yeah,
Amazing.
Man, I can think a better way to spend session 180.
That's for
I
sure.
know.
That was awesome.
I know.
Whoo!
We have somebody who wrote in that needs some prayer for
Yeah.
their daughter who's going through some really tough times with some mental illness.
okay,
Mm.
And I was wondering if you guys could close us out by just singing a little something
Yeah,
for them.
yeah,
It doesn't have
absolutely.
to be a lot, just a little of something.
yeah,
You know,
What do you
like a prayer up to heaven.
yeah. Do you remember it? All right, yeah, I got you. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. chorus.
Just short.
Yeah.
I believe you're my healer. I believe that you are all I need. And I believe that you're my portion. I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. Oh, nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands. Nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands. 'Cause I believe you're my healer. I believe that you are all I need. Jesus. And I believe that you're my portion. I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. You're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. Jesus, you're all I
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
you so much. I just felt the Holy Spirit in that so much.
Jesus, you're all I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lord.
Wow, I hope you guys can feel what we feel in here. Man, so blessed to have you guys tonight. It's nice about modern technology, you're not burning any tape. Just sit here.
Uh-huh. Wow.
What was the lady's name who asked for prayer?
Actually, Fritz, I think you know her name. She wrote in today asking for prayer for her daughter. And I know she's a faithful listener. She's listened a lot, and I was trying to pull up the message on my phone, and I couldn't find it, but I didn't forget about her tonight.
Right. I think it was yesterday, or the day before. I could be wrong.
I just read it today.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just read it today, and I just want her to know that
that was for her.
That was for her.
Yeah, amen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, God, you know her name.
That's always the song that I think of immediately when I need help. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It says it all in the word, you know?
Mm-hmm. It does.
We just bless her, and God asks that you would intervene
Yes, Lord.
in her daughter's situation, that you would just touch her and bless her and give her a hope and a peace and a joy. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
I can't find it. I guess it was it on Facebook? Is that when she wrote it on Facebook?
It was on Facebook, but we've had a lot of commentary today. So,
well, Jesus knows
Yep.
Amen.
who she is.
Yes, she does.
That song was for you. But I think it touched all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, what a way to end.
All right. That was session 180.
Session 180. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Guys, tell them one more time how they can get in touch with you, or they can listen to the music, and where they can find you.
So on Facebook at A&K Music. We don't have our other social media platforms up yet, but hopefully we will soon. But yeah, that's the best way to reach us, honestly. And then our personal pages are off of that. But yeah, if you guys need anything or need any prayer, or I don't know, want us to come worship with you or whatever, just shoot us a message, and we'd love to get back with you and make it happen.
Facebook Live, Monday nights, 8 o'clock, A&K Music.
That's right. I think we're going to have them back here once a month.
Everybody's a once a month guy.
Well, I do it every week, but there's other guests.
That's awesome.
you guys have to promise us you're coming back.
Oh, absolutely. We'd be honored. This is awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I want to thank everybody again that's been on YouTube tonight, everybody that's been with us on Mixlr, and for the 5 folks that I can't tell who you are, thank you for being with us tonight. I'm sure that you were happy that you were here.
But you can tell them who they are if they...
Yeah, if you follow us on Mixlr, I can tell who you are and give you a shout-out and welcome you. But man, what a show. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. God has just given us technology. It's just wonderful.
To 93 countries at this
93 countries. And I hope all 93 just heard that worship song.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Man. All right. I don't really want to quit, but that's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Really? Wow.
And there hasn't a soul left.
That's awesome.
Everybody's still here.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It is.
Thanks, guys, for worshiping with us tonight. Just amazing. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for session 180. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Tina.
God bless.
God bless.
God bless.